A viral clip just broke the internet showing what looks like Austin Reaves and Bronny James getting into it after practice. Millions saw it. Lakers fans panicked. But before you jump into conclusions, there's something about it nobody's telling you. And what the Lakers owner just said makes everything worse. The footage that fooled millions. Now, if you've been anywhere near social media in the last 48 hours, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Because on February 21st, 2026, a post hit X, formerly known as Twitter. And that post spread like wildfire through every corner of the basketball internet, faster than anything we've seen in a long time. The post, which came from an account called @JakeMorrisonNBA, said, and I'm reading this word for word, "Breaking. Bronny James and Austin Reaves got into a physical altercation after today's practice. Both players had to be separated by teammates. More details are expected to emerge." Now let that sit with you for a second. A physical altercation. Teammates had to step in. Between Austin Reaves and Bronny James, two guys on the same Los Angeles Lakers roster. Two guys who, up until that very moment, everybody thought were cool with each other. And this post didn't just float around quietly. No, this thing racked up over 1.6 million views, more than 5,000 likes, 243 reposts, and hundreds of replies in a matter of hours. It jumped from X to Facebook. It jumped to Instagram. It jumped to Threads. Lakers fans everywhere were losing their minds, thinking that the locker room was falling apart right in the middle of a season where they're sitting at 34 wins and 21 losses, fifth in the Western Conference, with real playoff aspirations on the line. And honestly, you can't blame people for reacting the way they did, because when you see something framed like breaking news, with an image attached and a verification checkmark sitting right next to the account name, your first instinct isn't to go digging through somebody's bio. Your first instinct is to believe it. That's how the internet works now. You see it, you react, and by the time the truth catches up, the lie has already run a full marathon. But here's the thing nobody was paying attention to in those first few critical hours. If you actually took the time to click on that account's profile, and most people didn't, you would have found something very interesting sitting right there in the bio. It said, plain as day, satire account. The whole thing was a joke, a fabrication, made up content from a Scotty Barnes fan page that had absolutely nothing to do with Lakers basketball or anything remotely connected to credible NBA reporting. And the people who did catch on, they weren't holding back. One reply said, "This is definitely some clickbait." That comment alone pulled in over 224 likes because people recognized it for what it was. But the one response that really put the nail in the coffin came from somebody who pointed out the most obvious flaw in the entire story. They wrote, "Bronny played for South Bay tonight in Texas. At least try a little harder next time to make it seem real." And that right there was the kill shot, because on the very same day this so-called altercation supposedly happened at Lakers practice, Bronny James wasn't even in the same state. He was in Frisco, Texas, playing for the South Bay Lakers in a G League game against the Texas Legends, where he dropped 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 27 minutes during a 127-105 win. And the very next night, he came back and put up 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block in 34 minutes during a 104-99 victory. The kid wasn't fighting anybody. He was hooping in a completely different time zone. And this isn't even the first time something like this has happened around the Lakers this season. Back in November 2025, there was a whole Bronny James cheating scandal that went viral before the model behind the claim literally came out and admitted she made the whole thing up. That's 2 major fake stories about this kid in one season. 2 completely fabricated narratives that millions of people consumed as truth before anybody bothered to check the receipts. And that should tell you something about the environment Bronny James is operating in every single day. The spotlight on this kid is unrelenting. Every move he makes gets magnified by 1,000. And when he's not making moves, people just make stuff up. Now, once legitimate outlets got wind of what was happening with the fight rumor, the debunking came fast. Yahoo Sports investigated and confirmed no credible sources backed the claim, emphasizing that if something like this actually went down, there would be leaks from insiders, and there were none. The Times of India labeled it a viral social media hoax. College Football Network traced it directly to the satire account and contrasted it against actual evidence of Reaves and Bronny getting along just fine. No ESPN reports, no NBA.com updates, no official statements from the Lakers, nothing, because there was nothing to report. And the irony of all this, not only is there zero evidence of beef between Austin Reaves and Bronny James, there's actually a mountain of evidence showing the exact opposite, because these two share one of the most iconic moments of the entire 2025-26 NBA season. And if you haven't seen it, let me paint the picture for you. The real footage and the Bond people forgot. November 3rd, 2025. Lakers versus the Miami Heat at Crypto.com Arena, and the Lakers are rolling. This is one of those games where everything is clicking on both ends of the floor. The crowd is into it. The energy is through the roof. And then late in the first quarter, it happens. Jared Vanderbilt forces a turnover on the defensive end, and suddenly it's a 3-on-1 fast break with Bronny James trailing.
Good defense by Vanderbilt.
3-on-1,
Bronny. Oh.
Austin Reaves sees Bronny filling the lane. He doesn't hesitate. One-handed lob right from the free throw line area, floating up toward the rim.
The break of the jam from AR.
Boy, did Bronny climb the ladder on that one.
Bronny goes up, catches it mid-air, and throws down a two-handed slam that sends the entire building into a frenzy. The bench erupts. The crowd is on its feet. That right there was one of the best highlights of the young season.
Oh, another look at that play by Bronny. The Lakers get out in transition, and Austin says, "I see you."
And then the replay shows just how high Bronny got on that thing.
Up with two hands climbing that ladder.
That play wasn't just a highlight, it was history. Because according to the Elias Sports Bureau, Austin Reaves became the first player in at least 25 years, since the year 2000, to throw alley-oop assists to both a father and a son in the NBA. Think about that. Reaves had already connected with LeBron on lobs before, and now he's connecting with Bronny too. No other player in NBA history has done that while both the father and the son were still on the same active roster. And if you go back and look at every father-son duo in NBA history, the Dell and Steph Currys, the Rick and Brent Barrys, none of them ever played on the same team at the same time. This is literally unprecedented territory, and Austin Reaves is at the center of it. And after the game, a 130-120 Lakers win, where Luka Doncic posted a triple-double and Reaves dropped 26 points and 11 assists. Reaves talked about what that moment meant to him. He said, "I've got to be the first person in NBA history to throw a father a lob and a son a lob. It was a pretty special moment." He also went out of his way to praise Bronny's effort that night, noting his defensive impact and saying the Lakers needed the minutes Bronny gave them. And it wasn't just the alley-oop game. Even before the season started, Reaves was publicly gassing up Bronny, calling him one of the better players out on the floor during preseason workouts. And when LeBron was assigned to the G League to rehab his sciatic injury and Bronny ended up starting for the actual Lakers,
How about Bronny James starting in the NBA and LeBron's assigned to the G League? That's awesome.
that right there is Austin Reaves in his post-game interview, genuinely excited for the kid. Not jealous, not bitter, not harboring some secret grudge that would lead to a practice brawl. Just a teammate being happy for another teammate's moment. And earlier in that same interview, Reaves was talking about LeBron rehabbing with that same level of respect and admiration.
Y'all know how he is. He analyzes everything to a T. So I'm sure he's sitting at his house while we're playing, probably drinking a little bit of wine.
And then Reaves brought it home with a message about what LeBron means to this team no matter where he is.
You know, obviously it's LeBron, and just his presence and his ability is going to, lift the team. But he's a winner at the end of the day, and, he's won his whole career. And
that's a man who respects the entire James family, period. No ambiguity, no hidden tension, just genuine camaraderie. Now that doesn't mean Bronny's journey with the Lakers has been all sunshine and highlight dunks, because if we're being real about it, there are legitimate conversations happening in the basketball world about whether or not Bronny is ready for this level. And nobody made that argument louder or more passionately than Stephen A. Smith.
I'm really trying to be as respectful as I possibly can be.
And what came next was a plea directly aimed at LeBron James as a father.
I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this.
Stephen A. laid out the numbers plain and simple, and the numbers at the time were rough. In 13 NBA games, Bronny had played just 44 minutes, scored 4 total points, and was shooting 1 for 16 from the field and 0 for 7 from 3. Those are hard numbers to look at no matter who you are.
Bronny James is averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds.
And Stephen A. made it crystal clear that none of this was coming from a place of hate.
How are you doing him favors? We know that he's not ready yet.
And then Stephen A. took it somewhere that really hit different, because he didn't just talk about the numbers. He went into history. He brought up a story that most casual fans have probably never even heard of, but one that paints a picture so vivid you can almost see it happening in front of you.
You remember years ago, Doggy, when the great Larry Holmes heavyweight champion extraordinaire, one of the greatest jabs.
He was talking about Larry Holmes and Marvis Frazier. For those who don't know, Larry Holmes was one of the greatest heavyweight boxers to ever live, one of the most devastating jabs the sport has ever seen. And Marvis Frazier was the son of Smokin' Joe Frazier, another all-time great heavyweight champion. So Joe put his son in the ring against Larry Holmes, and what happened next was hard to watch.
Marvis Frazier went to the ring, and Larry Holmes, Molly, got interviewed before the fight. And he said,
Holmes told the camera straight up, ain't no kid with 10 fights beating me. And he meant every word of it. Because when they got in that ring, Holmes hurt the kid. And what did Holmes do while he was landing those shots?
And he hurt the kid and had him hurt. And literally, Molly, before he punched, was waving at the referee to come stop the fight.
Holmes was literally waving the referee in to stop the fight while he was still throwing punches. Even the man dishing out the punishment knew it had gone too far. And when it was over, nobody was looking at Marvis. Everybody was looking at Joe. Everybody was asking the same question. Why would you do that to your son? Why would you put your child in a position where you know, deep down in your soul, that he is overmatched? And that's exactly the parallel Stephen A. was drawing, because then he brought it right back home to the NBA.
And we were like, what you doing? Why would you do that to your son? Do you not know who the hell this is?
And then he aimed it directly at LeBron.
Well, I would say to LeBron James, do you not know who these NBA players are? Do you not know who your contemporaries are? Do you not know how great the NBA players are?
That's a heavy comparison. And whether you agree with Stephen A. or not, there's a kernel of truth buried in there that's hard to ignore. The NBA is the highest level of basketball on the planet. These are the best players in the world. And when you throw a young player into that fire before he's ready, you're not building him up. You're risking tearing him down in front of millions of people who will never let him forget it. But here's what makes Stephen A.'s take worth revisiting in the context of everything we've talked about so far. He wasn't saying Bronny could never be an NBA player. He was saying Bronny wasn't ready yet. And the G League numbers actually support the idea that with more time and more reps, the kid is getting there. Because his G League averages of 15.5 points on 53.6% shooting with nearly 5 assists per game tell a completely different story than his limited NBA minutes. His recent back-to-back performances against the Texas Legends proved that. And even his season-high 12 points against the Spurs on February 10th, where he went 5 for 10 from the field with 6 assists, showed flashes of what he could become when given real minutes and real opportunity. The talent is there, the work ethic is there. The question has always been about timing and readiness. But while the basketball world debates Bronny's future, the Lakers owner just said something that changes the entire conversation about this franchise. And it has nothing to do with Bronny or Reaves, and everything to do with LeBron James himself. What Jeanie Buss just said, and what it really means. So here's where this whole thing takes a turn that nobody was expecting. Because while the fake fight footage was dominating social media and people were arguing about Bronny's readiness, Jeanie Buss, the controlling governor of the Los Angeles Lakers, sat down for an interview on CNBC on February 17, 2026, and what she said shook the entire NBA landscape. When asked about whether LeBron James would be returning to the Lakers next season, she didn't give the reassuring answer that most fans were hoping for. Instead, she said something that sent a chill down the spine of every Lakers supporter who's been holding on to the hope that the greatest player to ever wear purple and gold in this era would be back for one more ride.
What's going on here? All right, let's continue on. It says, LeBron James said Sunday.
The key quote from Buss was crystal clear. Never say never, but you know, he certainly hasn't given an indication. He's earned the right to decide how his career will go. Let me repeat that. He certainly hasn't given an indication. That is the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers publicly admitting that she does not know whether the face of her franchise for nearly a decade is coming back. And Buss sounded genuinely doubtful, suggesting he could either retire or choose to play elsewhere. Now, to understand why this matters so much, you need to understand what's been happening behind the scenes. Because this isn't just about one interview. This is about a relationship that has been slowly fracturing over time. Reports from ESPN detail private frustrations from Buss, including the perception that LeBron's influence through clutch sports has been outsized. There were reports that back in 2022, after the Russell Westbrook disaster, Buss privately mused about trading LeBron, something that would have been unthinkable just 2 years prior when they won a championship together in the bubble. And then there's the Bronny factor. When the Lakers selected Bronny James with the 55th 25th pick in the 2024 draft, it was supposed to be a feel-good moment. Father and son on the same NBA team. Historic. Beautiful. But according to reports, Buss privately felt that LeBron was not sufficiently grateful for what she considered a gesture, the drafting of his son. That tension, whether spoken about publicly or not, has been simmering underneath every interaction since. Now, Buss did push back on those reports in January, calling them unfair and saying it's always been respect between her and LeBron. And LeBron himself downplayed any rift, telling reporters in a January 23rd press conference that the respect has always been there. But the leaks kept coming. And when leaks keep coming, it usually means the fire behind the smoke is still burning. What makes this February interview even more telling is the context in which Buss framed her comments. She wasn't just talking about LeBron, she was talking about the future of the franchise. And that future, according to her, is centered around one player, and it's not LeBron James. Buss explicitly stated that the Lakers are focused on building around Luka Doncic, the 26-year-old superstar they acquired in a blockbuster trade for Anthony Davis. She called Doncic a young all-star that the fans love to see, and said the recent sale of the team to Mark Walter provides the stability to move the organization in that direction. And this is where the dominoes start falling in a very real way, because LeBron James is making $52.6 million this season and holds an unrestricted player option for next year. If he walks, that money comes off the books. And if that money comes off the books, the Lakers suddenly have massive cap flexibility, heading into a summer where Austin Reaves is expected to command a contract potentially worth as much as $240 million over 5 years. And let's talk about Reaves for a second, because the man has earned every single penny that's coming his way. This season, he's averaging 25.4 points, 5.0 rebounds, and 6.0 assists while shooting 50.8% from the field. He went from undrafted free agent to franchise cornerstone. He already turned down a 4-year, $89.2 million extension last summer because he knew his value was going to skyrocket, and it did. The Lakers hold his bird rights, which means they can offer him a 5-year max deal starting at roughly $41.5 million per year, while any other team is limited to 4 years. And even though teams like the Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons, and Brooklyn Nets are projected to have cap space to make a run at him, Reaves has said he wants to be a Laker for life and isn't obsessed with squeezing out every last dollar. But make no mistake, he's getting paid, and the Lakers know it.
Right? Luka and LeBron doesn't work. You can look at their record together.
And that's the uncomfortable truth some Lakers fans don't want to hear. As one commentator broke it down plainly,
it's clear to see he's a better player than LeBron James at this stage of his career. It's clear to see.
That's talking about Reaves. And the numbers back it up. The defensive ratings back it up. The on-court impact backs it up. And as much as it pains people to say out loud, the Lakers might be a better basketball team with Doncic and Reaves as the foundation moving forward, without LeBron. And to drive the point even further home about how the fit has been an issue all season.
So we're going to have more what we had in the first half.
The bottom line is this: when all three of those guys share the floor, the defense falls apart. And JJ Redick, for all his tactical brilliance, hasn't been able to solve that puzzle.
And JJ Redick has not been able to find a way to bench one of these guys.
And that inability to bench LeBron is the elephant in the room that nobody in the Lakers organization wants to address publicly. But Jeanie Buss might have just addressed it indirectly by making it clear the franchise's future doesn't revolve around a 41-year-old, no matter how legendary he is. So where does all of this leave Bronny? That's the question nobody can fully answer yet. If LeBron leaves, whether through retirement or signing elsewhere, Bronny's path becomes its own story. He's been assigned back and forth to the G League 7 times this season, which the Lakers frame as a developmental strategy. And to be fair, the development is showing. His G League averages of 15.5 points on 53.6% shooting with 4.8 assists tell a different story than his limited NBA minutes. Bronny himself has expressed confidence, saying his team believes they can be contenders, but without his father's shadow and his father's leverage, his NBA career truly becomes his own to earn. And maybe that's the best thing that could happen for everybody. No more fake fight footage, no more debates about nepotism, no more Stephen A. Smith pleading on national television, just a kid trying to prove he belongs, on his own terms, in his own time. But as for what Jeanie Buss just said, that wasn't about Bronny, that wasn't about Reaves, that was about LeBron James and the very real possibility that the greatest run in modern Lakers history is about to come to an end. And nobody, not the owner, not the fans, not even LeBron himself, seems to know what happens next. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.